Greetings and welcome to Hexed Countered. I'm Joe. Recently, I was getting some grief from my wife about how many games I have, and she asked me, and didn't even know what the actual number was. So that kind of sparked an idea in my head about doing some content just on what I do have, and that would be something I could also offer up for my channel members who can use the Discord for my channel to actually chat with me and give me suggestions based on what I reveal here in this series I'm just going to call From the Library. You've already seen one where I did some new arrivals I picked up back earlier this month in September. So that will probably end up being something I'll do from time to time. I don't know that I'll promise to do it every month, but from time to time, I'll do a kind of thing where I talk about what games I picked up recently. But I should also do what I have sitting on my shelf is what occurred to me. So that is what we are going to do right now. So I did pick a publisher. And the first publisher we're going to do is Multi-Man Publishing, MMP. And I figured I would start off with some of the very limited Advanced Squad Leader stuff I have. So in that vein, here is the first game I'm going to show you guys. Now, this is, of course, ASL Starter Kit number 1. It is still in shrink. I have not used it yet. That is actually true for all of the ASL stuff I have. Now, I did play ASL as a younger guy, so I am familiar with the system. But, you know, over the course of the years, all that stuff got given away, sold, whatever. Happened a long time ago. I don't really remember. When I was younger and had less money, let's say, there was just too much of it for me to really get into it. I think the system is great. It's extremely, I don't know, I guess complex is a word you could use for it. It's just very detailed, and the rule book is massive. And so I decided, hey, I'll get back into it and I'll just buy a few things. So this was the first thing I picked up when I decided to throw some of my time and money into ASL again. And so we've got Starter Kit 1. This was the 10th anniversary edition. I've had it for a bit now, but you can see it's got decent solitaire suitability, and complexity is medium. Now this, of course, is the starter kit, so you only get a piece of the overall system. And this is just something that will give you an idea of what it is, like the very basic stuff here. So I do plan on doing something with this at some point. I just have not gotten around to doing it yet because, as is always the case, I have a million things coming in and not enough time to do something with all of that stuff. So speaking of that, let's move on to other things I have from ASL. And as you might suspect, if you're familiar with the system, I do have the first module here from MMP. This is Beyond Valor. This is kind of the core set that you need. You also need the rule book, which I only have in electronic format. So I can't really show you that, but we do. This is the core, the first module. So you get the Germans and the Russians in here. And you can see you've got some locations where they talk about, obviously, right at the start with Barbarossa. You've got some Stalingrad in here. You've got End of the War in Warsaw. Comes with 10 map boards, 13 counter sheets. That's a lot. 24 scenarios and 4 6-sided dice. And here you can see solitaire suitability is medium, but complexity is high. That is true. So this would be like the real game as opposed to the starter kit, which is an introductory thing. And there are 4, I think it's 4. Yeah, there's 4 volumes in there because you get Guns and Vehicles and Pacific with the other 3, 2, 3, 4 of the starter kit. This is the second one that I wanted to show. And then this is one I found visiting my daughter when she was working out on the West Coast in Washington State. And I found this in a store. This is an Avalon Hill. So this is the early edition, the original publisher. And this is module 3, as you can see, Yanks. So this brings American forces. And you can see here at the bottom, it does say Yanks is not a complete game. Ownership of ASL and Beyond Valor is required. This is from Avalon Hill, as I mentioned, which was the original publisher of Advanced Squad Leader, and that's upside down. Still has the price tag. Adventures Underground was the name of the store. It is in, what is the name of that town? I always draw a blank on this. It's Richland. Richland, Washington. There you go. Okay. So here you see the solitaire suitability. It says it's high and the complexity very high. So the scale may be, I mean, it's all subjective to some extent, right? But yeah, so this is obviously the Americans and the bringing American forces into the game, and you've got action against the Germans here in. We've got Italy, we've got Normandy, you've got Market Garden here, and then you've got the Bulge as well. So various amount of things. I don't think this one tells you exactly all the stuff. Well, it does. You've got 4 mounted map boards as opposed to the more cardstock ones that come these days. 520 half-inch counters, 528 0.625-inch counters, and 8 ASL scenarios, and you get ASL Chapter E. So that is a reference to the rule book. There are a lot of chapters in the rule book, and they are organized by letter. So that is all the ASL stuff I have. Now let's talk about some of the other things, non-series things. So this, if you can't read what it says here on the Claymore, it says front towards enemy, right? This is a Vietnam game. You can see tactical firefights during the Vietnam War. This one is designed by Joe Chacon, and I have not played this yet, but I've always been interested in Vietnam. It was my father's generation's war, and so I had an uncle who did 2 or 3 tours as a Marine in Vietnam. So it's just always throughout my life, I've been around and known Vietnam veterans. So I've always been interested in that war. And so you can see here, this one's medium solitaire suitability and complexity. It is a tactical game during the Vietnam War. You get 3 counter sheets, 2 unmounted map sheets, a rule book, and 10 scenarios. Okay, and it's at a scale of 50 meters. And the counters represent infantry units of 1 to 4 men. So you got fire team, weapon teams, leaders, etc. So yeah, small unit, tactical Vietnam. Okay, then I've got a couple of the international series games. So these were games that were, I believe, originally made in Japan and then translated by Adam Starkweather, I think, for publishing here in the U.S. Warriors of God. This is the 100 Years War, I think. It's in a bag, as you can see. And I'm not going to break it out, but I did just want to show this. I don't want this video to be super long. And then we have Warriors of Japan, which is the same system. This one's only got a 4-year span. But if I remember correctly, this series has leaders who can die and things like that, which is more of a thing here, which because of the extremely long actually, this is more than 100 years war. You've got 318 years of wars between France and England there that's covered in that game. So here you've got the Nanbuku-cho period, which is very much like the War of the Roses 100 years later, pivotal moment in Japanese history. So this is something that probably a lot of people in the West, including me, are not overly familiar with. But the map looks pretty cool, in my opinion. And again, it's very high suitability for solitaire and low complexity. So this is one that I would like to play as well in the near term, if possible. That's always the big issue. Now here's one. This is from the great battles of the, or great campaigns rather, of the American Civil War. So again, this one I actually did a first look at, but I never played it for the channel. So this is a fairly big game. This is On to Richmond 2, The Union Strikes South, right? So if I flip her over here, this one is, you can see it covers It's got 2 campaigns and then a third campaign that is newly added. So 2 that were previously released and are now upgraded or updated, perhaps both. And then the Petersburg campaign is the new one. But you also have the 1862 Richmond campaign and the 1864 Overland campaign with Grant. Then you have the Petersburg campaign, which again is late in the war. Operations around Petersburg, Grant and Lee. And so that's what you get here. We've got 3 separate rule books, one for each of the 3 campaigns, 4 maps, 22 by 32 inch, 5 280 piece counter sheets, 1 two-sided 11 by 14 inch color off-map display and chart card, 1 terrain chart, 2 full color force displays, 2 4-page full color charts and tables, 2 6-sided dice. This one is medium for solitaire and low medium for complexity. And so that is this guy right here, On to Richmond. I do have a second one, the most recent one, I think, that's been released, which is Thunder on the Mississippi. This is the Vicksburg campaign in 1863 under Grant. And this one I have not done a first look at yet. And you can see it's a thinner box than the other one. It's also got the same scale here for solitaire and complexity. This is a smaller one, so you get 1 GC ACW standard rules booklet. You get the rules for this particular game. Then you get 2 map sheets at 22 by 32 inch, 2 280 piece counter sheets, 1 with 140, so a half sheet, I guess. 2 charts and table cards, a terrain chart, 2 force displays, and 2 dice. So this one obviously covers Vicksburg, which is right here on that nice big bend there in the Mississippi. And famous campaign, of course. And there was some fighting along in this area as the 2 armies kind of maneuvered. And eventually there was a siege here of the city of Vicksburg. And the Union eventually captured the city. So that is the GCACW that I have, which isn't much, of course. Speaking of not much, I have this that I recently picked up because I wanted to learn how to play the Operational Combat series. So this contains the game Sicily 2. I have never played OCS. I've seen it played because I watch other content creators stuff on YouTube. So I have seen it played by some of the other people doing what I do. And it's a complicated, complex system, relatively speaking. And, you know, I wanted to get something that I could get my feet wet. And this is what this is designed to do. There are actually 2 of these. I think the other one is Luzon, but this one is Sicily 2. So, and there's a list of some of the games in here. There are a lot of OCS games. They tend to be large games, a lot of counters, big maps, kind of monsterish, I guess you would say. And this, of course, is just a small piece that has 1 single 22 by 34 inch map. You've got 2 counter sheets and this magazine that has some articles in it. In addition to the rules and so on, you have articles in here that kind of talk about strategies and things that you would encounter playing an OCS game. So this is one that I really wanted to get on the table. And again, there's just, I get new things and it's like, well, I want to do something on this right now because it's new. And, you know, you get kind of behind, which is the story of my life. Then keeping it in the gamers / MMP. So if you're unfamiliar with the gamers, that was Dean Essig, the late great Dean Essig, who created all of these series, and they merged with MMP. And so these games were kind of released under the dual banner of MMP. And the gamers here on the right, you can see this is Standard Combat Series. So of the games I have from the gamers, the Standard Combat Series, SCS, which is kind of the, I guess, simplest of them, is the one I have the most of. Okay, so I did video on this game. I did a first look. I did gameplay. Ardennes 2, which is just kind of an updated version of Ardennes, which this one was actually designed by Dean Essig himself. He also created the series, but he designed this game. This is the updated version. It is the Battle of the Bulge, as you may guess. And as I said, I did video on this Good game. I enjoy all of the SCS games that I've played. I have some that I have not yet played as well. But yeah, this is a good one. Lots of scenarios to play with there. And moving on, we've got Heights of Courage. So this is one half, I like to call it one half, of the Yom Kippur War. This one covering the Golan Heights, as opposed to the other one, which was the Sinai. So here you have, obviously, the Israelis fighting in the Yom Kippur War on the Golan Heights against Syria, mainly. And then you had the Egyptians, which is the other game, which I also have, and you'll see that in a moment. But yeah, this is one I have not yet played. And this is the 16th game in the Standard Combat series. So this complements the 1995 CSR award-winning game Yom Kippur, right? That's the other one I was just referencing. It tells you how long ago that game came out. This one has a copyright of 2013. I'm not sure if this is the original publishing of it or not, but as it said, the Yom Kippur game won the 95 Charles S. Roberts Award, probably for modern category, I would guess. But here you can get a look at it. The nice thing with this series is the core rulebook is relatively short. This is a system that's fairly easy to learn. It does give it a medium complexity. Each game has its own special rules that can ramp up the complexity a little bit. The core system is very easy to learn. Individual games, some of them add additional complexity. Ardennes is also like that, where you have these situations that you have to have some additional layers of rules on there to kind of incorporate things. So this is one, again, that I would like to play. This one was designed by Steve Newhouse. And again, the series designer, of course, was Dean Essig. Then speaking of Yom Kippur, we may as well do that one next. Here's Yom Kippur. I have it in baggy format. This was designed by Al Sandrick in 95, copyright 95, The Gamers. This was before they joined with MMP. So this one is the Sinai part of the October 73 war. You get a look here at the counters. Again, I'm not doing a first look, so I'm not pulling stuff out. I just wanted to kind of go through what I have. I have about 5 more games to show you, and then we'll be done. Then we move on to Panzer Battles, the 11th Panzer on the Cheer River. So this one kind of goes hand in hand with Inflection Point, which I did a first look on, BCS. You'll see that again here in a moment, briefly. I did do a first look on that. I have not done anything with this. I wanted to kind of do them together because this is a piece of the battle that's in Inflection Point. And this one is, of course, based on the battles of the 11th Panzer Division during Operation Uranus by the Soviets. And so they have already pocketed Stalingrad and are trying to obviously eliminate that encircled 6th Army. And the 11th Panzer, which had recently arrived from France, is preparing to take part in the northern portion of the German relief attempt on Stalingrad. So this is Hermann Balck was in command of the 11th Panzer, and this is a fairly famous action by the Wehrmacht during the Second World War. Obviously, they did not succeed in relieving Stalingrad, but they did make some progress, and you can see the photo on the front with some winter action in the Soviet Union. Autumn for Barbarossa. This is, in my opinion, a great kind of a great intro to the SCS. This is a game that's not overly complicated. It's an interesting situation because you have both sides on the offensive, so it's good for 2 players. It's even good for solitaire because you can, the Soviets have a time when they get to be on the offensive, and the Germans do as well. This is a good one. This is you get a look here at the actual rule book. This is another one that I did video for. So I did gameplay for this, and you can see I've got some of my counters here in a baggie inside the big baggie. And again, this is just, like I said, this is a really good game, I feel like, to help learn how SCS works. Like I said, it's not an overly complicated system, but you do get a good look at the basics with that one. Then here's one that I was trying to get for a while, and I finally managed to pick it up. Rostov 41, Race to the Dawn. This is by Ray Weiss, designed this one. He is, he's got his own company, and as usually happens when I want to throw a shout out to somebody, I can't remember the name of it right now, but he's got his own thing going, and he's got some really interesting games, in my opinion, on his site. And I'll remember this as soon as I'm done with the video, so maybe I'll throw up a mention in a little graphic here on the video. So this one, obviously, 41 Rostov. We're talking Army Group South, right? Race to the Dawn. So this one is, again, it's medium. It's covering the bold or foolhardy dash by Army Group South to take Rostov. And you can see, here's Rostov, right? This is the bay here on the Black Sea. And this is a pretty decent push from the border where Barbarossa started. So this would be towards the end of kind of that initial push by the Germans. And another really interesting situation. The Germans are being aggressive and kind of overextending themselves to some extent, because they are, of course, trying to knock the Russians out of the war, which they did not succeed at doing. But this is another interesting situation that I look forward to playing. And then we've got the Tactical Combat Series, of which I only have one right now, and that is this one, GD42. Now, this was a whole series on the Gross Deutschland, which started as a regiment and ended as an army group during the war. And so you've got, this one is Tactical Combat Series, which is a step up from SCS. And this one is a neat system because you have to write out your orders, and then you try to carry out that battle plan. And there are rules on adjustments and how you can do it and everything. So it's a really interesting twist on things. So this is, I guess, well, there's GD41, GD40, 40, 41, or 42. That's it. So it starts with the invasion of France, and then you have two that are in Russia, 41 and 42. And so this one is when the Gross Deutschland is a division, and GD40, it's only a regiment. But this, you can see the new Tactical Combat Series rules. So this is TCS 4, and it's got a list here of what those new rules are. But like I said, the really cool thing, in my opinion, about this system is the whole having to write out your orders, because it's interesting. That reduces the solitaire friendliness of it to some extent. I mean, you can still do your best for both sides, write out the rules for both sides, and if you follow the system, then you can, of course, manage to make something out of it. It's just a little bit less solo friendly than, say, SCS is. This one comes with 3 maps, 22 by 34. It's a fairly large game, and this covers November 42 Operation Mars. So again, this is Stalingrad-ish era, but further north. And here you have, like I said, 3 maps, 3 counter sheets with that total 840 half-inch counters, rule books, 2 charts, the game-specific rule book, morale charts, and dice. I did do a first look of this. That's why it's out of its shrink, but I have not yet done gameplay. So that is another one that I would like to do. And then last but certainly not least, I have my single BCS entry, which is the Battalion Combat Series, and it is Inflection Point. So you have the Battle of Kalach here in July of 42 and the Battle of Chir in December of 42. So the Battle of Chir, of course, is what we saw with the Panzer Battles game for SCS. So this has both of those battles. This one was designed by Dean himself, and I think this may be his last design before he passed away. So this one I did a first look. I do plan on doing gameplay maybe near term. I tentatively pencil this in for Tanktoberfest, but I don't know if I'll actually make that happen or not. I'll put the box together upside down, apparently. But you can see this one has a really high solitaire suitability and medium complexity. So there are 5 scenarios. The 2 main battles, you've got the entry of the tank armies. You have the Tormasin offensive and the attack of the Fifths. So these latter 3 are half mappers, and the first 2 are 2 maps. Well, the first one is basically both maps, and then the second one is parts of 2 maps, and only 3 turns long. But that might be one that I was thinking about doing for Tanktoberfest. But I also want to do this in conjunction with Panzer Battles to show the 2 different scales. And so, like I said, we'll have to see. The only thing I know for sure I'll be doing in Tanktoberfest is British Tank Leader. Or Ace, rather, British Tank Ace. So, yeah, so that is going to wrap it up. So, like I said, we have a pretty decent variety of stuff here. And this is all MMP. And right now, I think this is everything I have, unless I have something tucked away in a corner somewhere. I have games all over the place. But ultimately, if you are a member, and I do want to shout out to my 2 members right now, Gladiator and Tom Marshall, for their support. As a tier 2 member, which is the countered level, you do get access to the Discord for my channel, and that would allow you to chat with me, and we can bounce ideas around and maybe come up with content ideas or games you want to see and things like that. So it's an opportunity for me to interact with the members of the channel, who also tend to be subscribers, of course. So speaking of that, please consider liking, sharing, subscribing. If you're not already doing any of those things, that would be greatly appreciated. Thank you to all my subscribers. And, being a subscriber is a great way to support the channel as well. So I do appreciate everyone who has signed up for that. But as I said, if you do join at the countered level, you'll get 24-hour early access to my content. Plus, you get Discord access. And at the first tier, you'll get some membership badges and also some emojis. And membership stuff may change over time, but for now, that's I added the Discord to the tier 2 to sweeten that up a little bit. But yeah, I think that's all for now. I will continue to do these depending on how this one does. I was going to do GMT, but I have so much GMT that it would probably take 3 or 4 videos to do them all. So that may be something I'll break up. Same thing with Compass, Decision. I have a lot of games and a lot of publishers. Even Flying Pig, I don't think I could do in one video. So that's going to do it for now. Thank you again for watching. I am Joe. This is Hexed Countered. And until next time, as always, happy gaming.